right here on Asala Media, and we're going to go across now to be joined by a member of South African Christians for a Free Palestine out of Cape Town this morning. We're speaking with Sarah-Leah, and we all have known for a very, very long time that the occupation of Palestine, the genocide that is unfolding in Gaza, what is playing out in the West Bank and also in Jerusalem as well, that this is not a religious war as many try to frame it, but it is a war against humanity, and people right across the entire board have been affected. Muslims, Christians, even Jews. That are affected, that do not stand with Israel, particularly in terms of this Zionist ideology of supremacism, of ethnic cleansing, call it what you may. And it has been horrific in more ways than one. And almost every community has been targeted, mosques, churches that have been bombed. And we've seen even on occasions like Ramadan, on occasions like Christmas, on occasions like Easter, and how this has actually impacted on people of other religious denominations. And this is the reason why we are talking this morning with Sarah-Leah of the South African Christian for a Free Palestine. Sarah, good morning to you, and we welcome you to the show. We thank you for taking time out with us this morning right here on Solar Media.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to chat with you and with your listeners this morning.
Yes, Sarah, it's just encouraging to see how this movement has actually grown in South Africa, how diverse this strong voice has become to speak out against the apartheid, to speak out against the genocide, to speak out against the brutality that is unfolding. And we see people from across all religious denominations coming together in speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And as a member of the South African Christians for a Free Palestine, perhaps if you could just, by way of an introduction, give us an overview in terms of how you personally feel, and how does even Christians in South Africa feel when we see what is playing out in Palestine right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, as a Christian, as a human being, what's happening in Palestine and what's happening in Gaza City is deplorable. We've seen 2 years of war that seems to not want to end. It looks as if international powers, even when they speak out, are not making enough progress in convincing the state of Israel to stop the bombs. We've seen food aid, even what we've seen in the last couple of months with this sort of Israel-backed, US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Fund. It has not delivered the aid that they punted that they would. In fact, it seems like they're terrorizing people, trying to weaponize hunger. And what's happening in Palestine is condemnable. And every voice, no matter where we come from, whether we are people of faith or people not of faith, we cannot continue to watch this and remain silent. Our generation will judge us. Yes, I truly believe that. And as a Christian specifically, when I find that there are some Christians who cannot see the humanitarian crisis that's unfolding, the starvation that's happening, and they cannot see it, and they still have some kind of ideological idea as to why this should continue, I can only say, not in my name. This is not what Christianity teaches us. And so as a Christian, I feel helpless, like everybody else in this situation right now, watching from a distance. But the one thing that I do have is my voice, and to say, not in my name, and adding to that, as a Christian, can we please stop what's happening and change
Yes.
the situation for the people of Gaza?
Well, certainly, Sarah, and also I think I'm looking at a picture on my screen right now that my producer has put up, and there is this picture of this church that has actually been bombed, and you see the cross right at the top, but obviously blown to bits as well. And once again,
Hmm.
reinforcing and reminding us that nobody is actually safe as far as this genocide is concerned. And I also alluded to a number of issues that have been playing out over years right now, where one looks at historic Palestine, where people coexisted
Yeah.
peacefully, Muslims, Christians, and Jews as well, and they respected each other. But this genocide clearly has taken that to a completely different level, destroying anything and everything in its path.
Yeah. Yes, and again, we were. I am a Catholic, and that church that was bombed was a Catholic church operating out of Gaza, and there were three parishioners or four parishioners of that church who I believe were killed. I know the parish priest was injured as well from the reports that I saw. And again, this is targeting anyone who is Palestinian. I think we cannot allow ourselves to be swayed by this political idea that it's only Hamas that they're going after. They're going after anyone who is in Palestine. They don't want Palestinians to be there. And that church, in actual fact, was trying to provide a safe space for anyone who wanted to be within its walls to try and find safety, to try and find some reprieve from this war. And this event drew media attention, possibly because it was a Christian church. But I also feel that we shouldn't single out these incidents, because incidents like these are happening every single day in Gaza. And the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine are dying every single day. And if the world becomes upset by this one incident that targeted potentially Christians who are in that space, well, then we can't condemn one act and not condemn another. All of it is wrong. All of it needs to stop.
Sarah, let's just talk about this from a South African perspective. And we know that, there are many Christians in South Africa, and of late, we've seen many individuals rise, many speak out, whether they come from the Catholic or any other, Christian member of a Christian community or any other church group. And we've seen many, many strong voices actually starting to emerge in South Africa as this genocide has progressed, as it's become more brutal, as we see the hunger set in, as we see the weaponizing of hunger now starting to take place. And there could be absolutely no justification, and how this movement has actually started growing not only in South Africa but right across the entire world, where particularly in many countries there are large Christian populations, and they've now come to terms with what this genocide truly is all about. And
Mm-hmm.
what is a message? What is a message that Christians are now starting to send out to the rest of the world, and also to fellow Christians here in South Africa?
Mm-hmm. So sadly, Christians are hugely divided on this issue. There are thousands upon thousands of Christians who, like myself, are saying one life destroyed needlessly is one life too many, and we need to stop it. But unfortunately, there are also Christians who believe that Israel is right and what Israel is doing is right. And so what we're trying to do, even as South Africans for Free Palestine, we are really at this point still quite informally organized. But what we're trying to do is to create awareness within the various Christian churches. First of all, to create spaces where we can speak about what this conflict is, that this is not a 2-year conflict that started on October 7th, that this is something that has been happening for 80 years at the very least, and is part of a much longer history in that part of the world. So first of all, we're trying to educate other Christians to what is really happening, but at the same time also trying to encourage Christians from all walks of life, from different churches, from different prayer communities, to join in the power of prayer. I think there comes a point where by our own human actions, we still cannot call for the change or make the change happen that we would like to see. And when human efforts fail, we have to rely on God. And I think this is something that people of all faiths would adhere to, that we, by human efforts, must do our very best to bring justice and goodness and peace and love into the world. But we cannot do it alone. We have to do it through the power of God. We have to do it through the power of prayer. So the second part of what members, or what South Africans or Christians for a Free Palestine are trying to do, is praying into this space, praying that somehow the Spirit of God can change the hearts of the people who have the power, who have the ability to stop this and bring this insanity to a close. So it's a two-pronged thing. It's awareness, so that more and more Christians can truly understand what is going on and not fall into those false rhetorics or those false ideas of what they believe to be this battle between, I don't know, some call it a sort of a divine battle. Others, are more focused on whether, Christianity is right, or Judaism is right, or Islam is right. And at this point, that doesn't matter. We're all made in the image of God. We're all God's creatures. And anything that happens to one of God's creatures actually happens to us collectively. And we need to create more and more awareness of that.
Well, certainly, Sarah, and this is about our collective humanity. And I think what amazes me most as well is, how like-minded people have actually come together, irrespective of where you come from, or which religious background you come from, what other background, whether we're talking about activists, we're talking about people on the ground, solidarity organizations, and how everybody has just rallied together. And we see this growing movement, which is very, very encouraging to note, while we still have across many parts around the world this racist, supremacist ideology that is actually being pushed, to the extent where people are forcing people to basically isolate from each other and telling people apart. And what Gaza has actually done is it has actually brought people to another level, and it's actually brought like-minded people together. And this is where, this is much appreciated, where we see in your case Christians for a Free Palestine. We know that South African Jews for a Free Palestine as well. We see many other solidarity organizations. And again, it's about tapping into our collective conscience and our collective unity.
Absolutely. And I think this is where, as South Africans, we really have a role to play in the concert of nations. We showed, even with our own history, our own apartheid history, in the 1980s and before we came to democracy in 94, the churches came together to fight against what was the evil of apartheid then. And we united against across religious lines back then. So we really formed an example for how this can be done across the world. And I think 30 years on, the time is now right for us to again unite across religious lines, across political lines, across all lines, and really just add our voice collectively to the voice of a growing voice across the world that says enough is enough, stop this now. I woke up this morning just to read some news stories and sort of the latest reporting coming out of Gaza City and the extreme malnutrition and starvation of entire families and people dying trying just to get access to some food. And Now, it's really as human beings, we cannot allow this to happen, and we must use everything at our disposal to work together, to come together, to just increase this global wave of rallying cries to say stop, because this can't continue.
Well, Sarah, thank you very much for that, and also for taking time out with us this morning right here on Asala Media. We wish you all the best, and please take care and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, and a wonderful day to you and to your listeners. Thank you.
Sarah-Leah joining us this morning, a member of the South African Christians for Free Palestine. We're going to go for a break. We come back. U.S. sanctions against ANC leaders have become law. What does this mean for South African politicians, the ANC in particular? Political analyst and economist Dr. Dave McKinley will be unpacking.